19 and a half minutes.
Thank you, and I will not take all my time, but Mr. Speaker, as the co-author of this legislation, the American Veterans Disabled for Life Commemorative Coin Act, I want to especially thank my partner, Dennis Moore of Kansas, for his leadership in bringing this bill to the floor, where we are now on to the White House for enactment. Our legislation seeks to recognize the sacrifices made by more than 3 million living disabled veterans by building a memorial for them right here within sight of the Capitol. In 2000, Congress authorized the construction of this memorial just south of the Rayburn Building. In December 2006, the President signed a law that transferred control of the land for the memorial from the District of Columbia to the National Park Service. In February 2007, I joined my colleague from Illinois, Mr. Hare, in introducing a bill that extended the authorization for this memorial through 2015, and that was signed into law in October. Now, the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial Foundation needs to raise approximately $65 million for the construction of this memorial. Our legislation today will authorize the Secretary of the Treasury to mint commemorative silver dollars that will be sold with a surcharge to help the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial Foundation to raise the money it will need to construct this memorial to our heroes. Not only will these coins be collector's items, but they will help raise millions for the memorial. In crafting the bill, Congressman Moore and I had the privilege to meet an extraordinary young man, Sergeant Brian Anderson from Rolling Meadows, Illinois. Brian's story is unfortunately all too common for many veterans from Iraq, but his spirit is very uncommon, and his attitude sets him completely apart from the average person. You see, Brian, at the age of 26, who finished basic training on September 12, 2001, lost both his legs and an arm to a roadside bomb in Iraq. Brian jokes that he would have lost both his arms if he hadn't been smoking when the bomb detonated. His constant sense of humor and his determination are clearly apparent and came through loud and clear in a long interview he gave to Esquire magazine. In it, Brian said, quote, "This doesn't define me. It may be how I look on the outside, but it's not who I am. I guess you could remember me easily as being a triple amputee, but it's not who I am, has nothing to do with who I am, and I've always been the same person." Brian is a self-described adrenaline junkie who hopes to become a Hollywood stuntman. Since his appearance on the cover of Esquire, he's had numerous opportunities to use his story for some sort of political gain, but he has always forgiven that opportunity. For Brian, he doesn't like to talk about politics, but always wants to talk and support the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial. Washington has many advocates for many causes here in this town, but none more effective than Brian Anderson. With Brian, you see what you get. He is a veteran with an inspirational story who wants to see this memorial built not just for himself, but for all of his disabled veterans from World War II, from Korea, from Vietnam, Desert Storm, and from his conflicts both in Afghanistan and Iraq. Brian is about as genuine as you can ever get. And with passage of this legislation, we come closer to the day when Brian will return to Capitol Hill to visit the memorial that he helped to build. I want to thank my friend Dennis and also a member of my staff, Patrick Magnuson, for helping shepherd this legislation through the House. With more than 3 million disabled American veterans alive today, it's fitting that we now take the time to build a memorial in memorizing their sacrifice here within sight of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. As someone who is one of the only members of Congress still serving in the military as a Naval Reserve intelligence officer, it's my honor to be the lead Republican co-sponsor of this legislation. It's our hope now that we go to the White House, enact this legislation, mint this coin, raise millions for our fellow disabled American veterans, and then build this memorial, not just to show all of the veterans how much we care about them and honor them, but also to remind future Congresses that freedom is not free, that a price is very high when the President calls on our armed forces to deliver, and when they do, we honor them and will always remember their memory. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from Kansas.